What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one, and we appreciate your support in getting us this far. Now, today we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by one of the all-time greats in the game, Mr. Rob Swift. Thank you for coming through, sir.
I appreciate you having me, man. This is going to be fun.
Yes, I'm very excited, and I love so much of your work, and I'm excited to talk to you about a lot of it today. So one of the things that I remember reading about, or two of the things that I want to talk to early on in this was, I always think it's interesting when people look to their elder siblings or their parents or what have you, and they get that encouragement. And I remember when I'd read about you a long time ago, that stood out to me. I think it was your dad and your older brother were DJs, and that inspired you, gave you some direction. So now that you have the success you have and have such a long career, looking back, what did they do that really got you on this path to the way that you've gotten?
With regards to my dad, I credit him for serving as an example of what a DJ does. I'm lucky, man, because I saw firsthand in real time what it is to control a room full of people without even opening your mouth, just by your music selection. And that I credit my dad for. When he migrated here to New York City from Cali, Colombia in the late 1960s, he got established, got himself a job at a factory, but a factory income wasn't making enough money for him to support myself, my older brother, and my mom. So to make extra loot, he started DJing. And I'm thankful to him because he wouldn't just go to these venues and parties and warehouses and basement churches alone. He would bring the entire family with him, my brother, my mom. We'd all help him carry the equipment. So I got to see the life of a DJ firsthand as a little kid. And kids are like sponges, man. You pick everything up that you see and experience. And so here's my father, who has this 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday is like another person. He's this guy that DJs, that plays music, that people jam to. It was just an awesome experience as a kid to see my father express himself in that way, beyond just the working man. He had this talent, this creativity. And so my dad, for sure. And then my brother, man, I saw him earlier today, and my brother, man, like, I don't know if I would necessarily be here talking to you as Rob Swift, a popular, well-known hip hop DJ, if it wasn't for my brother, because my brother introduced me to hip hop culture. He would, and I talk a lot about this in interviews, man. He would get his hands on the Cold Crush Brother, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Jazzy J and the Jazzy Five, Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force, Fantastic Five Freaks, and Grand Wizard Theodore Park Jam tapes. And he would sit me down and explain to me everything that was happening, everything that I was listening to. And it was like going to school in my living room, like hip hop school. And my brother would also take me to his friends' houses, and a lot of his friends' houses would b-boy. So they would like break dance in the living room to like mixtapes that my brother would put together on my dad's equipment. I have one memory of going to my brother's friend's house with my brother, this guy named Ishmael, and he was a graffiti writer. And I remember him having a conversation with my brother as he was drawing a piece on a piece of like like a notepad, like a piece of white paper. And I have this vivid image of him writing his name in a graffiti style font as he was having this conversation about girls or something with my brother. And so like images like that stayed with me, whether it was watching my dad DJ or accompanying my brother to his friend's house who wrote graffiti. Those images just stayed with me. And when I was old enough, 12 to be exact, I was tired. I grew tired of just spectating and being the son or the little brother watching. I wanted to be a part of the creativity. So I asked my brother to teach me, man, and he did. And here I am today.
Well, that's amazing. So, credit and shout out to your dad and your brother for that in particular. And taking from that, I wanted to know for you, because for me, I grew up in Maryland and there weren't many videos as a kid, as you're well aware. So, when I was first hearing scratching and starting to listen to a lot of rap, I didn't understand how it was made. So what was your, because I just thought it was some instrument or something. I just didn't know what it was. And then when they said they were cutting and scratching, then I started to figure it out. And then I'd see some videos, but it wasn't to the magnitude we have today, of course. But for you, when to go from your dad, what your dad was doing, your brother was doing, and stuff you then started seeing, how did you understand cutting, scratching, mixing in a different way than maybe you had first gotten exposed to DJing?
I think the best way I could answer that question is by saying it's like, how do you ask someone how they understood learning how to talk? You know what I mean? Like you're born into this planet and people talk to you, and as you grow older, you start to like innately talk back. And so I use that as an analogy to say I can't necessarily pinpoint a time when I started to understand hip hop, how it was made. It was just an innate thing that was in me because I was literally born into it. You know, I was born in the decade that hip hop was birthed, like not figuratively, literally. You know what I mean? So it was something that I grew up around here in Jackson Heights, Queens, in New York City. You know, not too far from where I live. I'm on I'm on 82nd Street in Jackson Heights, and one train stop away, 69th Street, Roosevelt Avenue. Back in the days, 70s through the mid 80s, there was a roller skating rink called USA Roller Skating Rink. And a very popular scene in the movie Star Wars was shot inside that roller skating rink featuring Rocksteady Crew and the Dynamic Breakers. So very early on, Queens was one of the places, one of the regions here in New York City that was a hub for hip hop. And so growing up around it, walking to the store and encountering kids breaking on cardboard or going outside to play two-hand touch football and my brother's like playing a cassette tape of Cold Crush Brothers and Tony Tone and Charlie Chase while we run around in the street was just a normal thing. So whether it was having my dad and understanding DJing from an organic perspective, like seeing it happen, opposed to now you take your phone out and watch it on YouTube or Instagram. I was witnessing it in person, what DJing is, what controlling a group of people looks like, and what it takes. Or being around my brother who would take me to jams in Flushing Meadow Park and listening listening to pioneer DJs like Baby J from Queens and uh, Frankie Crocker, WBLS, like witnessing it all like in person. So to answer, it's hard to answer that question because it's like, you know, if I was to ask you, like, when do you remember learning how to talk? That's something you can't really put into words because you just, as you grew into who you are now, whether it was being talked to and talking back and then going to school, you know, you just grew into the language of English. You know what I'm saying? So I grew into the language of hip hop in a very organic, natural way. It was around me.
Mm, yeah, for sure. So that being said, given your affinity for it, your love for it, and your abilities on it as you progressed, how did you because another thing I remember reading is that you were also going to college, or you went to college, and that was something I actually had a chance where I could have, like, theoretically I might have had to drop out of school, but I had a chance for a big job with writing and stuff, but I was like, let me make sure to finish college because I can always write. So for you, how did you balance trying to develop and developing, but then also going to school, going to college at the same time?
The answer to that question is sort of funny. I'll be transparent with you. My older brother, big shout to him, John Universal, um, was a troublemaker. And here in this neighborhood in Jackson Heights slash Corona, Queens, where the Beatnuts are from, Cool G Rap, my brother was one of the menaces to society. You know, like he would like do crazy stuff, man. Like he would like rob people. Um, I have memories of like my mom pulling up at my elementary school, taking me out early because my brother was like at some precinct. My brother would be like at some precinct locked up because he robbed somebody, you know? So I say that to say, because my brother was the way he was, and knowing and understanding the torment it put my parents through, I made a conscious decision to do the opposite. And so for me, whereas my brother would cut school, I would go to school and stay there. Whereas my brother would maybe get kicked out of schools. I remember I would like, I went to every school that my brother went to. My brother's about 6 years older than me. So when I got to elementary school, the principal pulled me aside and was like, "You're John's little brother, right? Are you going to give us problems?" When I got to junior high school, the dean pulled me aside. "You're John's little brother, right? Are you going to give us problems?" When I got to high school, the principal pulled me aside and was like, "You're John's brother, right? You're not going to give us problems, are you?" Like it was something that was following me, right? This sort of it's like, you know, I think people expected me to be like my brother, and knowing what that put my parents through, I wanted to be the opposite. So going to school is like the easiest thing for me because I just wanted to give my parents a break mentally and emotionally from all the crazy stuff that my brother would do. Thank God he's still here with us, you know, because, you know, a lot of his friends ended up in jail or dead, you know? But on the flip side, my brother had this creative part to him as well that I liked and I wanted to mimic, you know? And so, whereas I didn't want to be the street version of who my brother was for the sake of, you know, giving my parents a break, I did want to be the creative DJ version of who my brother was. And although my dad is my first example of what a DJ is, my brother is my first DJ mentor. And hip hop teacher. So yeah, I was kind of like juggling two personalities, sort of like him. He was juggling the street kid, stick up kid that would get in trouble and get chased by cops, but he was also a DJ. And those were his two personalities. Whereas my two personas were the studious Rob has perfect attendance in school kid and the DJ. So I kind of just isolated the part of my brother that I liked, which was the creative part. And then the street kid part, I was like, I got to do the opposite. And so doing the two, staying in school, but also DJing for me was easy because I wanted to stay true and be creative because I loved DJing, but I also wanted to give my parents a break. So honestly, school was a lot about my parents more than anything, you know, whether it was like elementary, junior high school, even going to college. Like I debated going to college because by then I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to DJ, enter DJ battles. I started battling the summer that I graduated high school. And I met my mentor, my second mentor, Dr. Butcher, that same summer. And I remember being at his house and telling him, like, Drew, Dr. Butcher, man, like, yo, I want to battle. And he was like, all right, I'm going to help you. And then I started my freshman year at Baruch College here in New York City. But that too was from my parents, man, because although I was on the fence about whether I wanted to go to school, I knew that I was going to be the first one in my family to graduate college. So not that I felt pressure on my shoulders, but being a son of immigrant parents, you know, the point of them coming here to this country was to provide a better, more opportunistic pathway for their kids. And my brother wasn't taking advantage of that. So I knew I had to. And here I am, you know, Robert Aguilar with a college degree in psychology, but also this world-renowned DJ, you know? I managed to juggle both, and I'm glad that I had the temperament to do so.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.